My name is Ojinika Mbaka, and I am a senior fellow at the Africa International Trade and Commerce Research. Thank you very much for joining us. We are delighted to have you. You're welcome. First, let's set some ground rules. Kindly mute your mic, turn off your videos if you're not speaking, except of course at the end when we shall be taking the group photographs. You can comment and ask questions during the discussions by using the chat box button. So when you go to the bottom of your Zoom board, you will see the chat button. You can make contributions by raising your hands, and that is using the emotion buttons. And when you do that, please start with mentioning your name, your position, and the organization that you represent. Once again, you're welcome. Permit me to serve you a quick background of what today's webinar is about. Now, the Nigerian National Forum on AfCFTA is the convener of this webinar with the theme, Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Matters Arising in Foreign Exchange Management. The central focus of the webinar today, being the 25th of September 2021, is to harvest ideas by examining the various efforts of the CBN through its policy measures in the management of foreign exchange in the country. Between March 2020 to date, the CBN has made about 25 foreign exchange policy-related decisions that target the general public, certain groups, and industries. Now, the broad objective of foreign exchange management is to ensure that instability in foreign exchange is reduced, hence diminishing its adverse effects on the economy. Despite concerted efforts by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to achieve this objective, in line with foreign exchange, that is monitoring and miscellaneous provisions, enabling acts and amendments. You may recall that the CBN has three major acts, the CBN Act of 1958, the CBN Act 1991, and the CBN Act of 2007, and the introduction of several tools and technicalities to influence the exchange rates and maintain price stability in the foreign exchange market, such as the import prohibition list and the use of Form M's, Form A, several other measures. The problems are still here in Nigeria with us. The convener of this webinar believes strongly that a forum of this nature will provide an unbiased platform for the Central Bank of Nigeria, fiscal policy experts, trade experts, bureau de change operators, deposit money banks, policymakers, the Nigeria Academies, and all other stakeholders to discuss the challenges that have been the bane of the monetary policy in Nigeria, of which the foreign exchange management is key. One key area of attention that is of priority to all participants, I believe, here in this webinar today, is that the arrays of problems are not new and are clearly known to us, with no exception. These problems are not limited to inadequate inflow of foreign exchange, the balance of payments questions, the debt services burden, the continuous depreciation in the value of the Naira, and the problem of funding sectoral allocation of foreign exchange. Specifically, this webinar has not been designed to examine the roles of the Central Bank, of Nigeria in managing the country's foreign exchange. It is recognized here by all participants that the CBN's role is sacrosanct and without doubt sacred to the success of the national economy. Furthermore, this webinar intends to examine the impact of foreign exchange rate policy in foreign exchange management and recommend solutions, possible solutions. However, we recognize that some experts here may have opinions that will enlighten the conversations by introducing elements of the principles and practices of foreign exchange management from their experiences. As part of efforts to harvest ideas and harmonize priority suggestions from various interest groups, we acknowledge that time may not permit us to examine adequately the effects of the activities of the parallel markets on foreign exchange management. So to deal with some of these concerns we have identified, this webinar has been designed to focus on the current problems facing foreign exchange management in Nigeria, in the reality of the recent CBN's position, with Aboki FS as a case in point. There is certainly one thing that most people have accepted from the Aboki FX experience. It is the fact that the weaknesses in the institutions and the structures that manage our systems are no longer hidden from the purview of the global public. It is therefore a cause for concern and a call to all concerned to put ideas together so that we can collectively save our country from this unfortunate reality. Our approach in this webinar, therefore, is to address 5 critical concerns structured in the following order. Questions around what are the matters arising in foreign exchange management from the regulatory perspective? What is the reality in foreign exchange management from the formal operators' perspective? What are the matters of practice from the informal operators' perspective? What is the experience from the end user's perspective? What are the lessons from other jurisdictions using comparative analysis framework? What priority actions, whether immediate, medium, or long-term, must Nigeria take to address the foreign exchange challenges? Our panelists are well known experts who will take up each of these questions and share with us their practical experience from the field and what they consider solutions to each of these issues. This, of course, will now be followed with a question and answer and comment session, which is open to all participants. The session is therefore, this particular discussion session is therefore at the heart of this webinar and is quite important for all of us. Please note that all ideas and solutions at this webinar will be put together as a policy action proposed to the appropriate government institutions for follow-up actions, especially the CBN in this regard. We have participants here today drawn from private and public sectors, and for emphasis and benefit of those who are just joining, we have ground rules. Please kindly mute your mic and turn your video off if you're not speaking, except at the end when we shall be taking group photographs. You can comment and ask questions by using the chat box button. You can make contributions by raising your hand up, using the emotion button, and please start with mentioning your name, your position, and the organization that you represent. Once again, you're welcome to this webinar. Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, matters arising in foreign exchange management. We are now delving into the discussion session, and I'd like to start by allowing our distinguished panelists about 5 minutes each for their opening statements. And the first wipe will be taken by Dominic Adedeji. It's my pleasure, therefore, to introduce the first panelist, Dominic Adedeji. He has over 15 years experience in legal practice. He is the principal partner of Dolce Vita Law, MD and CEO at Marcel Security Management Services Limited. In 5 minutes, sir, please share with us the role of informal operators in foreign exchange management.
Good afternoon, panelists. Afternoon, our audience. I hope you can all hear me very well. All right. Thank you very much. I've been introduced already. My name has been introduced, and my company has been introduced. I would like to discuss the issue of the informal operators in foreign exchange management. Now, in the local parlance, we call them a bureau de change. If I'll use that word, that they are not the regular banks. They are not the regular banks. They are seen as one of those that helps in the forex market. Now, the reason why they are there, or their role, is to meet up the gaps that is created by the formal banking sector, the gaps that is created by the restrictions that the CBN has put on forex management. It will be trade and investment, because most investors believe that it is easier to get regulatory rules by CBN, but with them, you can easily just go, they will do the transfer, and you won't have to go through all those processes. So their role in managing Forex is to really close up the liquidity of the forests, as it were, that is being created by the formal banking sector. And I think as we go on, we'll throw more light on this as regard that role.
Thank you very much, Dominic.
Yes.
We'll quickly now go over to Abdul Razak. Abdul Razak Abdul Hamid is the CEO of AA Mega BDC. He's a graduate of entrepreneurship and business management. He has well over 11 years of experience in Forex trading. Welcome, Abdul Razak. Tell us, from your perspective as the BDC operator, about Zach, please unmute your mic. Please, thank you. You may go ahead.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Good.
Loud and clear.
ADC even has established BDC established retail and to between CBN and individuals who maybe like to have a forex. So actually, it has become a serious problem because of this price going off in the price going off of the USD. So people have been facing serious problem. A lot of people have been it will not affect the businesses. So actually, we have been trying our best to see we make it possible for people to get it at a lower price, but a lot of factors have been which are for us choose from the side and sometimes is of value. We actually value foreign goods than the goods we are producing in our country. So a lot of this has become the reason why people have been demanding forex so much. I think when our local industry can produce enough, the demand for the local for the foreign exchange will reduce, which actually will make the price of USD to go down. seriously. But the too much demand is one of the factors that normally makes the price is continue rising. So the moment demand reduce, that's when the price will actually go down. People have been saying CBN have been giving USD to BDCs, but actually what the CBN are giving is not enough. It's maybe contributing maybe just in USD. CBN policies also have been encouraged foreign currencies. The kind of as business out maybe to transact a business, bank can only is not enough. Maybe most things have to just people have.
Please share your experience with us from a foreign exchange end user perspective.
Thank you, Jenica, and everyone. So, yes, I'm going to speak in from the grassroots level, circles, and I'm going to cite some examples of school fees, because this is the season of school fees and kids are going back to school, everybody's going back to school. This is September, so season of school fees. So that alone, I don't just mean the fees. Let's say your child is going back to school and they are going to pay fees, accommodation, tuition, and then they need money to go back to school. So I was in a bank the other day, a few days ago, a woman comes in with her child child, the student is entitled to $1,008. But the banks are not telling anybody the stories. They are not telling anybody this one. They are hiding it. They push you out there to go and buy. Now that is one, that's that of school fees. Now PTA, the same banks also, for genuine travelers, I have seen, like I said recently, so like she already said, I stopped work. So in these few weeks that I've stopped work, I've actually been more on the field, connecting with people and practical, seeing the real terms. So I know 2 people that have been denied PTA by the bank, 2 genuine travelers. And then I know someone also who so he came to, I have someone who runs a travel agency, and he comes to her and says, oh, please process my UK visa. We're going for a wedding in UK. And she looks at his passport and she says, no, but you have all these visas. There should be, you getting a UK visa shouldn't be an issue. And then none of the visas, nothing is genuine. Everything has just been around tripping. But he's been getting these things from the bank. He's been getting the PTA. This is somebody who has never crossed Nigeria, but he has all those things and he's been getting them from the bank. That is another example again. Then the people who, sellers, importers from Q, from M, LCs, all those other ones, it's becoming more difficult because, like Abdul Razak already said, the allocation the CBN releases is quite minimal, let's say 8 to 10% on a weekly basis. And if you're, I wouldn't want to use my previous company, but if you're a big, even if you're not a big importer or whatever, and like, let's stick with Abdul Razak's example of 200 million, you require 200 million. It takes you, at the end of the day, you're not going to get that. And it even takes a long time to also get that. So the truth is that, yes, there are some of these policies, the CBN, well, they are probably trying, but these policies are not in your face. So the end users do not know what they are entitled to. The banks who are the bridge in between the CBN and the end users are not telling you. But there are people who are not genuine, who do not have the documentation that I may have. They still access these things through the banks. Now, another example I will give again is, I have someone who is paying school fees. So CBN disburses these funds twice weekly, and the person's payment has been pending at the bank for 4 days now, just school fees. It's not gone through. So these are some of these issues. What is the CBN saying? How will they get this message across to end users? Because if you're the regulator for my bank and you pass this information to my bank, how do I get this message across? I bank with different banks, but I have one. I call them the blue bank. They're always sending these messages, and you're up to date. You know what you're expected to do. You know what is required. Recently, they said, okay, if you get a PTA and you do not travel for any reasons, please return the funds. But I also know someone in this last week who was denied PTA because the person had gotten PTA for Easter, was supposed to go to Dubai. The Dubai trip did not happen. Not for that person's fault. It's a family. They couldn't travel, so their visa for Dubai had expired. That expense, they incurred that expense. Their tickets are still hanging. They've not been able to redeem their tickets. So those costs are still out there. And then one of them got PTA because, I mean, they don't even give under 18s PTA again. Then somebody gets PTA in March for, due to no fault of theirs, they couldn't travel. And then in September, which is another quarter, because these are quarterly allocations, you're entitled to 4 times in a year. So the person goes in September, and the same bank is saying, no, we noticed that you did not travel and you did not return the funds. And the man engages them and says, who did you tell? As at March, CBN hadn't even come out with the formula of, with the circular of sell PTAs across to the shop floor. That policy just came out recently, maybe last quarter or something. So as at March, who did you tell? Are you going to punish me for information that you did not disseminate to the end user? And as I speak, that person was rejected. The person traveled 2 weeks ago. The person was rejected PTA. The person had to source from the open market. So these are some of the things that we deal with on the streets. Information dissemination, CBN, you tell your intermediary, which is the bank does not disseminate it. And I will give you another example. I have lots of these examples.
Thank you so much. I'll come back to you. I'm sure you do. I'll come back to you very quickly, but then we must progress at this juncture so we can bring in Dr. John. Dr. John is Semede, is my panelist, and he's a teacher, a historian, a geographer, a global trade researcher and international marketing expert. He is the former Director General of Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NASIMA. Dr. John, it's a pleasure to have you here. Please tell us what Nigeria...
Thank you, moderator. Thank you, moderator. I'm extremely happy to be here this afternoon.
Thank you, sir. Please tell us what Nigeria can learn in foreign exchange management from other jurisdictions to boost export.
All right, before we go, it's a simple question. You are just telling me to compare what is on ground and what is in the other country. So first and foremost, let us compare. You came up with CBN policy of 1958 and all that. CBN policy of 1958 was by the British government when Ghana got independent in 1957 to establish Bank of Ghana and introduced the CD, pulled out of the West Africa Central Bank. Today, where have we found ourselves? Nigeria, a population of close to 210, with a debt of over 35 trillion. As I'm talking to you, a baby born this morning is already owing 165,000 naira. So are we going to keep quiet? The reason is simple. The policies are not working. If you now look at the policy of 1958, CBN was set up for three major things. Monetary policy. And monetary policy, we address unemployment, inflation, economic growth, and so on and so forth. Look at the rate of unemployment. If you assemble unemployed Nigeria in one place, it will be the fourth largest country in Africa. The second one is you manage the foreign exchange in line with Ministry of Finance. Are we seeing that? If you now look at the whole scenario, at this point, the policies are not working. Just last week, I saw some people demonstrating in Abuja. We have the governor of Central Bank, and so also we have Godwin Emefiele. And what we are seeing now is that there's a total separation because the office holder is different from the office he holds. Why were people demonstrating? What I was expecting was to see the director of communication of Central Bank to engage Nigerians. I have been part and parcel of Central Bank in and out since 1967 when Clement Ison took that office. We have never seen people who have taken the Central Bank to the main road. Do we have deputy governors of Central Bank? Have they engaged the society? As I'm talking to you with my level, past DG of NASIMA, I don't know the director of research in Central Bank. I don't know who is in charge of foreign exchange. I don't know the director of ABCD. That has not been the Central Bank who were raised. Another issue again, we have to look internally. What of the OPS? Why are they not talking? Is it the duty of Central Bank to dabble into agriculture? And when they are talking of agriculture, it's only the upstream. Are they looking at the midstream? Are they looking at it? Is it the duty of Central Bank about border issues? Is it the duty of the Central Bank to place ban on 45 items? Every country has the right to negotiate their tariff ban. You don't use the word ban, B-A-N. Even if you say no more forest allocation, it's a clear case of ban. You only use ban lines, 5% import duty, 10%, 20%, and all that. Is that what we are seeing in Nigeria? These policies are not working. And it has never been so bad. The organization I belong to, the organized private sector, we now think of imports, selling and buying of dollars, trade fair, trade mission. We want to be on the board of government parastatals. At the end of the day, CBN is now demonstrating on the street they cannot engage the private sector, banning what they are not supposed to ban. Because some of this policy, even along the West Coast, is not working based on the picture Madam has painted, in the sense that we are closing border. You can get money out of this country, but you cannot get money through your neighboring countries. So if you now look at other countries, I have been involved in export and import since 1980. I have traveled around the continent of Africa mainly by road. I was in Egypt. You don't sell dollars and pounds on the street of Egypt. Egypt has a population of 100 million. What is the per capita income of Nigeria? What is the foreign reserve of Nigeria? These are issues we should look at. If those policies are working, we will not be where we are. Look at Ethiopia. You cannot buy bear on the street of Ethiopia. Go to Morocco, a country of 34 million. Now they are looking for people to take dollar. I think instead of going to IMF or the World Bank, let us go to Morocco and borrow. Since borrowing is now a middle name. Those who were demonstrating in Abuja could not tell us, because what we saw on the description was Emefiele, not the governor of Central Bank. They could not tell us that when Emefiele assumed duty on the 3rd of June, 2014, dollar to the Naira was 160 and 165 in the black market. Today, you are talking of 412, 500 and something. The organized private sector, they are not talking. And people are telling us that the economy is growing. The gentleman who was reading from paper could have been able to tell us the difference between economic growth and economic development. We are talking of Africa continental free trade. There are 55 countries in Africa. We have 42 different currencies. Only one is convertible, which is the CFA tied to the French franc, used by 6 Central African countries and 8 West African countries. Is this how? Because part of the problem we are having in ECOWAS, the first thing we discussed with General Ibrahim Babangida in 1991 is that if we want ECOWAS to move forward, we need new generation banks. We don't want to depend on foreign banks. A lot of banks were put in place because the basis of transaction. But some of these things could not work because of the policies of central bank, that you are having multiple exchange rates. And if you ask the governor, he will tell you there is one exchange rate in Nigeria. I can give you about 12.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I will let you hold your thought at this point, and I will come back very quickly to you soon. But then let's move on to Dr. Tokpe Faswa. Dr. Tokpe is an economist, a businessman, a writer, and 2019 Nigeria presidential candidate for Abundance Nigeria Renewal Party, ANRP. He's the founder and CEO of Global Analytics Consulting Limited. Pleasure to have you in the room, Dr. Faswa. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll try and be very quick because I see there are a lot of issues on hand, and of course, it's also a very emotive issue. So basically, I think I'm coming from the angle, it's a bit, if you like, call it idealistic, because I'm trying to see what exactly should be the ideal situation for us.
Yeah, because I'd rather have you focus on matters arising in foreign exchange management from regulatory perspective.
Yes, it's the same in the same vein. Thank you very much. So some of the matters have been thrown up. So the issue is I heard about banks throwing a lot of impediments towards the ease of accessing foreign exchange by our people, by people in general. And that is true. The banks are really very unfriendly. And a lot of people also believe that somehow even the funds that are available are being kept for their directors or whatever. So it's left to the banks to clear their name and for the central banks to ensure they're actually supervising, because a lot of people are being sent back to the so-called non-existent black market, which of course we know still exists. And indeed, the truth is that you cannot eradicate the black market, quote and unquote. Now, if I have $100 in my pocket and I decide that I'm not selling to any bank or any BDC, it's as good as being a black market. I can create my own market. So you cannot. And then, of course, issues around school fees and allowances. I see that, of course, if the central bank wants to save itself and its name, a lot of information must continually be put to the public to let people know what they are entitled to. Okay, of course, between me and you know that Nigerians will always sometimes find ways around this thing to get an extra dollar here and there to sell and make a profit. People will create, tickets and all of that. All of that cannot be pushed aside. They will always occur, and the banks must be ready to be very brisk in doing their functions and ensuring that they don't keep on populating the black market. The reason why the black market will continue, especially the malams that we have been used to in this country for a long time, is actually because of one thing: their customer service is excellent. Almost everybody has a malam somewhere, and he's usually your friend. It's someone you like to call. You probably want to practice your Hausa with him. It's excellent. And the drive-through service, you have $50. You don't have to come out of your car. By the time you go into a bank, you need to see how bankers speak with people who want BTA, PTA. I've seen it myself. And so if anyone from CBN is listening, they should know they have a problem on their hands until you you ensure you buckle the banks and get them to understand that they're doing their job. And again, I wrote something a couple of days back, which I said, listen, we seem to be deifying the dollar a lot. I'm actually at the international airport in Lagos on my way to Accra. I wanted to get some BTA, and they said, okay, they told them not to service West African countries. Given the fact that the Naira is fairly convertible along the West African coast, but sometimes because of the volatility of the Naira of late, they may not even take the Naira from me where I'm going. So what am I going to spend? I have to head back to the black market. And so why don't you say, for example, that the banks should, as BDCs do everywhere, they should stock other currencies apart from the dollar, including the dollar. So you're going to Accra, you should be able to have a bit of cedi, even if it's $2,000 worth of cedi. You know, you're going to Ethiopia, which is 4 hours away, and you say you're not servicing 5 hours, anything that's longer than 5 hours or shorter than 5 hours. You know, you should be able to get some beer, you know, going to Ethiopia. You should be able to get some Egyptian pounds. The banks must wake up. Look, these are simple things that ordinary BDCs do elsewhere, and which takes me to the subject of BDC. I heard the gentleman talking, I think it's from the BDC, Abdulhamid, talking about that the money that were given to BDCs were not enough in the first place. You see, unfortunately, I think the BDCs also have to admit. I was speaking just 2 days ago to a lawyer and owner of a TV station who's a very well-placed person who knows a lot of politicians. And he told me that he knows a certain sitting governor who has about 350 of those BDC licenses. I was shocked. But I know that he's not a frivolous person. Now, I know people who have three licenses, 4 licenses, 2 licenses, and so on. I never knew it was possible for someone to have 100 or 200 or 300. But you know that when politicians are involved, they twist the system. I put it to you, gentlemen and ladies, that we have more than 10,000 BDCs in this country. Even I've seen the chairman or the president of the BDC Association say there are some unlicensed BDCs as well. There are some BDCs that have not been included in the CBN list. Everybody has a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 licenses. That nobody does that anywhere in the world. We're killing ourselves and we're killing our country. We're killing our currency. Okay, by engaging in such a thing. You know, everybody is spending dollar. The country has become dollarized. I went to my bank a couple of days back in search of this same, when I couldn't get BTA, I said, okay, I have a bit of money in the DOM account. I got there in Abuja and they didn't have even any dollar to give me. They said, sorry, Oga, we don't have dollar. I said, what? I then realized that there was a real scarcity of dollars. Of course, the next day they called me and said I should come and collect the money. But again, it now reminded me that, hey, elsewhere, you know, you don't find the foreign currency on the streets. You know, in BDC issue, we have about, officially about 6,000 BDCs. Unofficially, maybe 10,000 BDCs. All right. In the UK, they have about 145 BDCs with different branches in different places. When you go to Oxford Circus, to Leicester Square, all down that route, Tottenham Court Road, all of that, you see some of them money changers. 145 of them brands in the UK. And the UK is a tourist country. In the UAE, they have 130. I checked that. In New York City, they have 40. What are we doing with thousands of BDC? Why is everybody packing dollar in their pocket? You can't, and then there are also issues of corruption, of money laundering. You know, for those of you who have done business across the world, you know that you cannot just walk into a bank and take $10,000 and walk out and say, yes, it's from my account. Sometimes you have to book, even in the UAE, even in Dubai, as crazy as Dubai is. It used to be better before, now things have got a lot worse. So those are some of the issues. Now the point is that we are getting to a point where we are having to be asked to pay for our sins as a people, as an economy, for the mismanagement of the economy, the corruption that we have done, even the debt burden that we have. All of these things are coming together in a perfect storm. And so we're asking ourselves, do we need the currency or do we not? If you match the Nigerian government, the Nigerian economy, vis-a-vis the US economy, and put them side by side, the US economy and the Nigerian economy, which is the dollar versus the Naira, and look at the productivity of these two economies and what they call the economic complexity, meaning that the knowledge quotient of the goods and services produced and sold and exported by these two economies, where will the Naira be? I put it to you that you probably will start at 5,000 Naira to $1. Are you ready for that? I went back, therefore, into the history of currencies. I saw that, indeed, countries start strong. And then it harks back to what Joseph Stalin said, which Margaret Thatcher echoed in 1981, that to destroy a country, the first thing you do is to debauch its currency. And the Naira seems debauched, and if we're not careful, may be further debauched. So I think everybody needs to come on board. I personally believe we cannot continue with the BDC policy. I think that the banks can handle it. I think the BDCs can actually source their funds from tourists and sell as much. We cannot be pumping money out anyhow into the system like that, and everybody is carrying dollar. We're almost getting to the point where even Okada riders will be demanding for dollars. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Faswa. Quite engaging session this morning, you would agree with me. I'll quickly go back to Dominic, who was the first speaker this morning. Dominic, you talked about meeting the gaps created by the formal banking sector. That is the role of the BDCs. Do you want to enlighten us more in that regard as per the role of BDCs in the foreign market, the foreign exchange management?
All right. Thank you very much. Yes. Now the BBC cannot be removed from the system. They cannot be stopped from doing business. But what CBN at best has done so far is to stop giving them funds, which is fine. That is done everywhere in the world. Nobody funds BBC from the government treasury. But when it comes to their operation, as it affects forests, those restrictions, like I was trying to explain, those restrictions that the central bank has placed on forex itself has created big gap, a serious gap for BBC to operate and for BBC to determine even the price of the forex. Okay, as it is now, the BBC, even if you shut down Aboki FX, BBC, the forex is still going up. As at yesterday, I discovered that it has gone up again, and then so it has nothing to do with Aboki. It has to do with the fact that there is a gap that the BBC is meeting, and in that regard, you may call them informal money transfer system. Now, exclusive restriction affects private sectors in two ways. This exclusive restriction that that CBN came up with, at least from 2015, thereabout, where they started putting restrictions on the amount you get when you're traveling, on the amount you get when you're paying school fees, on the amount you get, you have to fill this form if you are an importer or exporter. Sometimes people's goods are grounded in international waters, or on the other side, they're trying to bring them in, demurrage is piling up, and that makes the private sector run to the BBC, run to the... Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Good. Yes, that makes the private sector run to the BBC, run to the Aboki, and try to source funds so that it doesn't pay excess in what it's trying to import. Now, this stringent restriction with weak enforcement eventually stimulates the informal economic activities, including trade settlement, diversion, and smuggling, both of which were underpinned by the informal money transfer system. Now, the more you put restrictions, the more these BBD people are getting to control the economy in that regard. The more you put restriction, the more they get better. Because instead of you going through the process of CBN controlling forex, you just go to them and then they will give you the amount that you need. I remember I was going to transfer money abroad some few months ago, and it was almost 2 months. The bank would not even approve a single. So I should go to the black the Bureau de change. They control the liquidity of forex in Nigeria generally, and that is because the Nigeria itself does not have a viable economy running. Okay, in other parts of the world, there are ways that companies, investors, business owners source for foreign exchange without making the market becoming sensitive. Because some companies, for instance, let me use for instance Julius Berger, who is in Nigeria. Okay, if Julius Berger wants to buy whatever equipment from Germany, because they have their company in Germany, they don't have to send dollar to Germany. They will just do the exchange without money leaving Nigeria anyway. Okay, because the machineries are there in the other side. So economy is not viable. It's a country. So we definitely depends on this BB, what do you call them, British change operators. Now, I have discovered that they are paying to pull out that money directly from the bank. So if the money comes in, the money goes back to them. The bank will allow you to pull your money out in dollar and go to them to buy it at a higher price than for the bank itself to give it to buy it from you at that same price if the bank start buying it at the price that the Bureau de Change will buy it, we won't take the money out and go to them. And those money that are coming in will stay. But once you take your money in dollars and you go there, so that's their role. They help balance the process, but they have upper hand so far in Nigeria in doing this.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Barrister Dominic, for further enlightening us. Let me go back to you, Abdul Razak. Earlier, when you were speaking, you spoke about the public impacting so much on the dollarization of the economy. The reason why dollar is now, why the Naira is being devalued more. You mentioned that it is the general public, Nigerians as a whole, who are impacting this trend. Would you want to further explain?
What I'm saying, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, what I'm saying from the side of the public regarding the maybe contributing toward the situation we are right now. A lot of seminars have been going around on how to teach people how to become a BDC operators, or maybe how to be doing like a BDC business at their own respective firms. They have mobilized people to, maybe if they have money, they will come into the BDC market, they will buy dollar and go and hide it at home. They will hide it for as long as they want, until they hear that there is a scarcity of dollar in the market. People are looking at it, no matter what the price is, so that they can settle their bills, because some people are paying for shipping, which maybe there is a deadline. If you didn't pay, maybe they have to charge you for the extra time you spent. A lot of things. So they will not take it back to the market unless they hear that the market has gone higher. That's when they will take it out to sell it at the higher price. This is one of the things that have been contributing. And some people are even buying it just to hide it at home, but not using it. So it's one of the things that actually contributing the scarcity of USD in the market. And again, all these policies have been talking about a lot of corruption has been going in this country, where from all of the sectors, people have been contributing. In fact, to maybe if any policies that CBN come up with, a lot of people have been going behind their back and suing and doing some other things that cannot make the policy to maybe work properly. All the banks, even if you go with some genuine credentials, because of a lot of fake people who have been going there, they may think that you are fake. So that's why a lot of selfish reason from the side of the public who have been trying to, get this forest for not the reason of supplying any commodity, or for not the reason of traveling, just for their personal interest, just to come out and sell it where they think that they can get higher price. So all these things has been contributed right from the beginning. If you are not traveling, what need of you buying this kind of money and go and hide it at home? It's like you are creating a scarcity. People who need it for genuine purpose, they cannot be able to get it. So the moment it is scarce, that's when the price will start hiking it. And as well as what I'm still insisting, the policies of the CBN is still very strict. If maybe they can find a way to sort it in a way whereby people can find it simpler to access the forex. Because we in the middle, we are facing a serious problem. The problem we are facing, the person who needs this money, because of the reason or of the urgent reason that's making him to need this money, he is ready to buy it at any price. And the people who hide it at home, they will tell you that I will not sell you it's around 570 in the market. But some people will tell you I will not 3,700. This money urgent because maybe they want to pay their hospital bills, their school fees, and time is going. So I can even tell you, even if you see it 700, just call me. I'm ready to come, settle the bills. Or maybe he has a child, or maybe a wife or a mother who is not feeling better, and he needs to travel out for a treatment. No, he is ready to even buy it at 1,000. Once someone has it, and he hide it, you check it in the market, you couldn't find, and someone here in other side, he has been begging you, no matter where you see, no matter what price you see, you should even help him. He's even telling you to help him.
Thank you so very much, Abdul Razak, for that contribution. We'll quickly move on to Amara. Amara, earlier when you were speaking, you seemed to be suggesting that the formal banking sector is working at cross purposes with the CBN. As far as in your words, hiding the policies from end users, and you also littering the country, yet it is not accessible to the end. One may want to ask people who are not even eligible, what do you believe
monetary penalties? Let this information, okay, so I shared two of them. I shared that circular that we spoke about. I mentioned it and some other, but then again, how many people know for school session? Can the bank, I mean, you send us text messages every day unsolicited, and you debit us for things that are not necessary. Can you pass these messages across? Now, it doesn't have to be, because the bank will say, oh, the onus will be on them. How do they know who is a parent, who is good? No, send the message across to everybody. The same way you send us irrelevant messages. Let us know, oh, this is school season. These are things that are accessible to you. This is what your child can get. This is what you as a parent, how you can access that. Now, that is that. And I'll still go back again to, still on information dissemination. Now, CBN should, because CBN has their way of knowing these things. They should find out, are these messages, they should make it mandatory. The banks should send these messages out to the end users. And there should be compliance, there should be somebody monitoring it. Now, that is one that will work very well. rest this thing in places in the banking hall, and please not in fine prints, not in fine prints that we cannot read. Put it the way you, when you want to advertise, oh, open this, do this, the same way they put those things bold. Let us know that. Let me walk into a banking hall and I see something like, do you know you are? Do you know you can? You know, disseminate, let the information be in our faces. Let me know, and then let me not act on it. And then secondly, there should also be penalties for, I mean, the bank has always been what it is. There's always, it's in every sector. For staff who connive with, I will give an example. Someone traveled recently. He just needed $500 because his trip was going to be sponsored. It was a sponsored trip. He just wanted $500. And he goes to the bank. Once again, because of, for the purpose of this, I will name the bank, one of the red banks, and he goes there. And after 2 days, they asked him to come back for his documents. He goes back, and they said, oh, no funds. He couldn't get the PTA. He goes back. He went to the UK. And then while he was in the UK, he's a musician. He gets a sponsor. Somebody was ready to pay him to come back to Nigeria, all expense paid. Come back to Nigeria, and I'll fund your trip, and you can go back to UK for what you went to the UK for. So this is the next allocation. The next PT allocation is October. We are still in the July to September tranche. This didn't happen for this quarter, just this August. And then the guy comes back to Nigeria. Actually, his passport was stamped. You know your passport, the bank will stamp your passport at the back when they give you the PTA. So, but he didn't know, he wasn't aware of these things. He goes, he tells his travel agent, and the travel agent says, check your passport if it was stamped at the back. And it was stamped at the back. He goes back to the bank. Long and short of the story is that the FX guy at the bank collected this $4,000 in the name of that man and denied him even the $500 that he wanted. He collected this $4,000 on his behalf. When the case blew open, everybody in the bank was begging the man, oh, not to escalate, not to do this. Oh, okay, we'll give you 100, we'll give him, they promised him something. But now I'm talking about the end user also. The man went, Nigerians being who we are, the man was like, oh, I don't want to be the cause of somebody losing their job. So this guy got away with what he did. There should be penalties for that. There should be penalty for if a bank staff colludes with, be it the aboki on the street who can get the funds while I cannot get. There, you say, oh, I'm going to Cameroon, you can't give me funds. But the man who is getting these funds on the street, how is he getting? There should be penalty first for those things. There should be, send us SMSs. The CBN should ensure that the bank does that. There should be a monitoring arm. Send us this in our faces. Let us know these things.
Thank you. That the contribution and enlightenment. I'll quickly go to Dr. Semede. Doctor, you said a lot about the policies not working. In fact, it was almost like a song coming from you. The policies are not working. The policies are not working. Now, a former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, that's Kinsley just yesterday, so the Naira will fall from $570 to $1, to 400 Naira to $1 at the parallel market if there's a massive rush of dollars into the Nigerian. What is your opinion?
Thank you very much. I have been in export for 40 years, and it is possible if there is government intervention. First and foremost, let us know where we are coming from. What is causing this crazing of buying and storing dollar is just because of the gap difference between the official rate and the parallel market on the streets. The easiest job to do in Nigeria now is to buy the cheapest calculator, just stand by the roadside. You don't even need an umbrella. You are in business. In agriculture, can you make between 100 and 200 Naira for $1 to 200 if you invest in agriculture? Because in business, whether in stock market and all that, there's what we call yield. The yield gap is what is causing this. Secondly, a lot of things today. What we need urgently is the director of communication of central bank to bring all stakeholders together and assure us that Nigeria is our country and we have hope for this country. Remark said that. I've met him several times. Even my late friend who died last week, Obida Melapia, I was under him in Belgium in 2013 when I was learning export into the European Union under the GSP agreement. But the problem we have in West Africa, I went to Senegal by road, I was denied of foreign exchange. I went to Foreign Affairs to get a letter that any country I get to, the ambassador must give me money and will pay back. How many people have such opportunities? So how can we run a country? Because when they asked the central bank governor in his presentation, he said Nigeria has 1 exchange rate. I can give you 15 exchange. So is that what we are going to use to run the West Africa, the Africa Continental Free Trade? Since we are paid in AGOA and ECOWA ETLS is not working. Today we have the fixed rate. No, in other clients we have the fixed rate. After measuring the 15, then you, the moderator, will tell me which one are we running in Nigeria. We have the fixed rate. We have the chlorine rate. We have the floating rate. We have the flexible rate. We have the government rate. We have the official intervention. We have the street rate. We have the border rate. We have the smugglers rate. We have the bush part rate. We have the ECOWAS driver moving from one point to the other, they have their rate. We have those stamping passport in the, we have those collecting from the bank's passport not that rate. We have the sister to brother rate. We have the black market rate. We have the hot money. By November, December, when people are coming home for Christmas, people will be saying that the economy has improved, that the dollar is now 400. By January, it will go to 600. How can we run an economy like that? The other thing we should equally look at, these policies are not working. If a thing like this happened in Ghana, we have Kwamina Adasi, the governor of Central Bank of Ghana. We have Adisi in Ghana. We have Tulu in Liberia. We have Nabe in Guinea. We have Sarah in Quebec, and so on and so forth. What we are happy in Nigeria, the giant of Africa, the Secretariat of ECOWAS is not leading by example. How can we lead other African countries? These policies are not working. Take, for instance, in West Africa, in the past, we had 10 central banks. Mauritania pulled out. Mali pulled out and later came back. Togo had their hand burnt. Today we have 8 central banks. How are we fared in the sub-region? That we are talking of a single currency where central bank has served for 20 years in Premier Tower in Accra, no technical report. If we now look at the order, in September 1997, in January 1996, NEST was introduced to correct all these anomalies. Agencies were put in place to supervise exports. By March 11, 1997, CBN changed the NCX to NSP and gave us a guideline. Are they following that guideline? That you now see more dollar in private sector than the both of banks. We have been having problem with the Naira against all other currencies. We came up with West Africa Clearing House. Failure, it was changed to WAMA. Today we are talking of swap. You want to swap your economy, your currency. We started with Bazaar in 1986 under SPEN. Naira that was 1-to-1, the following day became 2-to-1, 4-to-1. From that day, we started ushering the Naira. People abandoned their farms and all that, came to the streets of Lagos, Abuja, Benin, and all that. And the easiest job to do is a toy calculator to sell the dollar. Apart from that, the most painful aspect of it is that Britain came last year and said, Nigeria will import and export in Naira. I was the first person to cry out. I went to Channels Television. Business is head or tail. Business is not head. You can't hold my head and hold my tail and say we are fighting. What is the role of NEXIM? Who is going to guarantee? The first thing Britain will do is to sign an agreement with us when the Naira is 160 to the dollar and press the CBN and others, middlemen who are working for them to devalue the currency. The next thing, I will use 500 Naira to go and get that produce and export to them. Today, where have we found ourselves? We swap. What has caused the swap is our inability to meet our financial obligations. How many embassies do we have in Nigeria?
Thank you,
How
Doctor.
many airlines do we have in Nigeria? How many foreign companies do we have in Nigeria? They will not take Naira out of this country. They will take dollars. In our inability to meet the obligation, we are telling them swap. At what rate? But remember the Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944 that all currencies are tied to the US dollar. Nigeria, we need to stand and agree on how to run this economy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Isemede. We need to stand and agree on how to run this economy. And that's moving over to you, Dr. Faswa. You talked about the dollarization of the economy. And you seemed to be saying that the reason that the BDCs have taken over is because of their excellent service. You know, even a mechanic, everybody is now talking about dollar. Even those who had not seen dollar before now talks about dollar. And you also felt that it might just be best for the BDCs or the formal bank to stock up other currencies apart from dollar, GBP or euro and Naira, so that maybe the Nigerian businessmen can easily have access to these things. Now, again, going back to some of the things that Professor Kingsley Moalo said, he said the currency speculators attack and affect the value of the Naira. Do you agree with this?
Yeah, what we're going through right now, as at last week, was a typical what they call speculative attack. Okay, and there are three things in currency crisis theory, in the economic theory of currency crisis. Number one is thou shalt not fix your currency. If you fix your currency and you say you want to defend your currency, speculators will look at your reserves and you know, they will tell you how long they can attack your currency, and you're going to shift because they will ensure you deplete your reserves. You keep on dipping into your reserves to defend your currency, and they take you out. I mean, as big as Britain is, George Soros did it 16 September 1992. It took them out. It made $1 billion from Britain in one day. Britain had to devalue its currency. And so that's that. The second theory is what they call self-fulfilling prophecy. And self-fulfilling prophecy says that if the people of a country believe that their currency is going to be rubbish, their currency will be rubbish. You see, so you see that a lot of what's going on now is that there's lack of social cohesion. Unfortunately, we've not been lucky on the leadership front in the last few years. And so more and more, you know, you see a scenario where every Nigerian seems to be against Nigeria. In fact, it's as if we're working for Nigeria to fail. And of course, the first manifestation is the currency of the country. So second theory in currency crisis is self-fulfilling prophecy. If you say your currency is going to be rubbish, it will surely be rubbish, which could tell you that vice versa as well. If you believe your currency will be strong and your country will be strong, then it will be strong. It's normal. It's tested. The third theory in currency crisis, you know, is what happened in the Asian crisis in 1997. And basically, it's about borrowing. So this is another aspect that Nigeria has to look at. They say borrowing is going out of hand, and a lot of those borrowings are not even due for repayment yet. For servicing the loans and paying the interest alone, we're using 97% of our revenue. on a yearly basis. So imagine when any of them begins to fall due, what will happen is you have to dip again into your reserves and you may find yourself devaluing your currency. In fact, that's a bigger problem than what we have now, which is basically right now, we're still talking about perception of the currency and what have you. Okay, now I wanted to say something about, what central bank needs to do. Okay, and I thank the lady when she spoke about that very classical example of what a banker can even do, where a banker collected the money, okay, that and wrote it in their books that they have sold, let's say $4,000 or $5,000 to a customer, and they did not give that customer. They frustrated him. He went abroad and came back only for him to find out that in their books they had already, and that is what some of the BDCs were doing. With all due respect, first of all, let me even say that in my own analysis, I distinct between the Malam on the street and the BDC. The BDCs are supposed to be more organized people with little shops here and there. Okay, talk about travelers. Okay, the Malams are those people, they never had offices, they were just on the streets, and we used to know them, and we had no problems with them. Okay, when the BDCs came, they were more organized, so to speak, but it became a free for all. I'm telling you that someone told me a big man in this country has 350 licenses. Imagine that person collecting $30,000 every 2 weeks or thereabout, or when the going was good, $100,000 every 2 weeks. And that's why you see everybody spending dollars. Again, almost every government official in this country spends dollars. All the governors I know that I've maybe from a distance, they spend dollars. All the guys in the House of Assembly, House of Reps and Co. and Senate, they spend dollars. All the ministers, they spend dollars. What is Buhari doing about that? So the moment you said that kind of example, you cannot blame the people for also seeking dollars. We have already passed a vote of no confidence on the Naira ab initio before all of these things started to happen. So what can the CBN do? Part of what I mentioned earlier on about look at the operations of the banks and how they deal with the customer. Put out more information. They cannot get tired at this point putting out information. Let the bank stock other currencies apart from the dollar. This is not about us and the dollar alone, so that we can then be able to know who is really traveling. If I'm traveling to Egypt and you say, oh, come and take Egyptian pounds of maybe 10,000 or whatever it is they agree on, you may decide that, okay, if you are not traveling 6,000 kilometers, we're going to give you $3,000. But if you are going forward, we take $4,000 or $5,000, something like that. Don't frustrate people. And then if I tell you I'm going to Egypt and I say, no, I want $1, then I'm on my own. But if you sell an Egyptian pound at a cross rate, if I get there and now begin to change back, I will lose money and it will not be worth it at all. So the central bank has to do that. The central bank has to ensure that people, you see, also one very critical thing, for import transaction, which is where the real big money is, okay? For importation, the central bank still finds it difficult to meet the demands of importers. Up to now, as I'm talking to you, when they bid every 2 weeks, some of them say they get zero. How can you say you're an importer or you're a producer or manufacturer? You bid for dollars to pay your customers abroad for the inputs that they're using. And central bank says you have got zero or you got 20%. That is where the problem is. But if you look at the macroeconomy now, the crude oil is selling for $75, which is where our main money comes in. I expect that the central bank should be able to accrete reserve, meaning that our foreign reserves will increase. If that happens, the federal government the savings they are making from not pushing money to borrow the change anymore, they should use it to expand the things that are considered to be eligible, meaning that they should use it to meet more of the customer's expectations. They should use it to meet more of the import transaction. Until the central bank is able to meet those import transactions and fulfill the demands, at least to a large extent, this crisis will continue. But the moment they begin to do that, I tell you what, we can even begin to strengthen the Naira. All right, we can strengthen the Naira. And you see, there's a lot of trading, dynamic trading going on what they call the FMDQ presently, Financial Market Dealer Codes. That is where the investor and exporter window, window, which the central bank governor says that this is the only window he recognizes. And I respect that, because a central bank cannot wake up and be talking of black market. No, it is called black market for the fact that it is an illegal market. You shut your eyes to that. You focus on that one. So a lot of transactions go on in the FMDQ, and I think the central bank also intervenes in that place. You see that trading goes on between 410 to 414 on a daily basis. That is where the central bank can make a statement. If they intervene in that market and they're selling a bit cheaper, then you find out that you can dictate, you can begin to see that if people believe that, look, this rate is going towards 400, that's the central bank revaluing the currency. All right, then the black market will take a cue from what the central bank is doing. So I personally support that the central bank is not giving cheap dollar to those 43 or 44 items. When you look at those 43 or 44 items, you see things like milk, things like sugar, things like vegetable, things like meat, things like fish, things like toothpick, things like Indian incense. Between me and you, by every means, we should be able to produce some of those things ourselves. Let that be an incentive for local producer, young, smart people to set up businesses in those areas and ensure that we feel our local. Listen, I believe that this economy has not started. And I believe that this economy has a lot of prospects if it starts. And I believe that it is on our shoulders, each and every one of us, to express that confidence in our country. I mean, all of this dashing around, rent seeking, making to Naira, running all over the place, will not take anybody anywhere. You don't get any brownie points for telling me that Naira is going to get to 1,000. What you should be telling me is how we can ensure that the Naira can be revalued to about 300 or 200 or thereabout. Okay, and it can be done. This economy has not started. We are the ones that will start this economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Faswa. The economy has not started. We are the one that will start this economy. Thank you very much. An enlightening afternoon, if you ask me. I would hope that we have questions, comments at this point. Participants, please, if you have any, use the reaction buttons to raise your hand and you can freely ask your questions. We would pick you as quickly as we see that. But I see that Amar has a question here directed to Dr. Faswa. Said something about, is that the E&I window?
Yes, the I&E window is investor and exporter window. It's just in short, is the window that is more accessible to me and you. Before I finished my PhD, my dissertation, I would apply to the bank, okay, for my school fees to be sent abroad. Usually they give me. In fact, before the recent reforms, I used to get maybe in a week or so. With the recent reforms, it was so very quick. It was so very quick, and they get the money from the investors and exporters. You see, the story of this thing, remember when actually the president, he was the one that caused that problem in 2016. In 2016, the man was giving instruction that if people are going for school, wherever, that the country cannot pay. Those kind of unnecessary and very unfortunate statements. And he had his own children abroad in school. And he said that people should go and withdraw their children. He said that if you wanted to go and treat yourself abroad, he was going to the bank should stop selling to them, but he then got into a plane and traveled abroad. That was the first time the Naira went to 520. In what is called price discovery, people, you think about, I gave an analysis then that, look, a mother, imagine a widow who is sponsoring a daughter in Ukraine doing medicine in year 4, you say she should withdraw her daughter. No, she's never going to. She will sell everything she has. She will borrow from everywhere. She will buy money at any rate for that child. And therefore, the Naira got to 520 until they started the first reform that happened when Buhari traveled out of the country. Osinbajo became acting president, and then they agreed and created the official window at 306 and the I&E window at 360. The I&E investors and exporters window, which is our own for common men. The 306 was only accessible to people in the presidency, what they call their official rate. All right, so like Dr. Esemede has said, there are so many rates everywhere. You cannot stop those rates. There are all sorts of people will get involved in the market. There'll be speculators, there'll be day traders, there'll be hedgers who are trying to buy and keep for something that's real, that's going to happen in the future. You cannot do. But the central bank should focus on its own monetary policy. Your own official rates will be your own official rate. Deal through the FMDQ. There's a lot of dynamism going through that, and and ensure that the banks don't frustrate you. But let me tell you why the bank going to the bank is better than the BDC idea. Those banks, they know in the past, some of them have lost their foreign exchange trading license for 6 months. Some of the MDs have been removed in the past for foreign exchange infraction. Whether they can be removed now in the future, I don't know. Whether they can be sanctioned, I believe they can. In fact, a report came out recently, the banks, some of the top banks are sanctioned 1.4 billion, some of that for foreign exchange infraction. And that's the reason. If a small boy, in cash and teller, decides to collect $5,000 on behalf of a customer and refuses to give that customer, and the bank, first of all, you fire everybody down that line. The bank can be, because the bank should be slammed. The bank should be slammed. And I think Amarnaji said earlier on, there should be those sanctions. We want the central bank to make it clear that they're sanctioning the bank. Everybody will sit up in this country, but let it not be a case of we're just all worshiping the dollar. If you go, let the banks be able to stock a bit of rand for those, and mind you, people aren't traveling that much these days, so we can still manage it. Stock a bit of rand, a bit of beer, a bit of Egyptian pound, a bit of Ghana cedi, some euros. So when you go to the bank, like a proper BDC, those money changers on Oxford Circles and elsewhere, you'll be able to get any of these currencies you need to a certain limit. That's why I believe that there's still hope for us in this regard.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Fastwell. We have another comment there that says, without improvements in the productive capacity of the economy, it would be extremely difficult to revalue the Naira. And that's coming from Friday Agala. And Rotimi Babatunde says, CBN must be honest and guide against round tripping, which they always know about. And again, this is directed at Dr. Fasa. Says the ENI has been manipulated and it is man-no-man approach now, sir. It is coded.
Well, no, I don't believe so. Well, because I'm telling you that I still got money. I'm talking about as early as 2-3 weeks ago, I still got money from that same ENI. Your bank, that's the only one they can access. It's rapidly traded. People should go and study what they call FMDQ, Financial Market Dealers Code. That ENI is not, if your transaction is eligible, it will fly. Okay? It will fly. Okay? Now, but I know that, look, the importers are still finding it difficult to get money. Those ones that bid is different. That is the one that I think may be manipulated, because that one is, it's very difficult for importers to get money. And I don't know if the central bank must understand that, look, if you can't meet those requests, then you have a major problem on that. I'm not saying you should meet all of them in one fell swoop, but a business person setting up in business, as a manufacturer who needs input from abroad, cannot wait for 10 months before you are managed to get 30% of whatever. That business is dead. So you have to ensure that whatever savings you are making on the other side, by cleaning up the system, use it to intervene in this other side to ensure things go well. I don't believe that the I&E market is manipulated for now. And I want us to keep a very open mind to some of these issues.
Okay, and he's going to have to say my bid has been there for months and very valid, but the bank can get the Forex. God helps her. Yes, indeed. Anyone among the panelists may attempt some of these reactions in the chat box, but very quickly I would go back, so we go around the panelists again for your final thoughts, while we expect that more questions will come. So let me start with you, Dominic. I haven't listened to all submissions this afternoon, so we go back to tell us your final thoughts on our topic of discussion.
Okay, my final thought is this, that an informal currency deals would persist along with the underlying informal economic activity. So that is to say, this bureau de change, they'll continue to operate and determine what our forex is, so long as the economy is not viable, so long as the restriction placed on certain transaction or most transaction by CBN is still there. The CBN should have, like a doctor said, should have relaxed on those restrictions so that the formal bank can operate almost at the same level with the bureau de change, so that you can get some of those currencies easily in the bank, and then that would drop the rates at the black market or whatever. Then finally, the role of the informal operators in forest management is to meet the huge gap. Like I've said before, there is a gap. There's a gap created by these exchange restrictions. That is their role. there is no reliable estimated or there's no reliable estimates available to measure the growth and extent of the volume of money flowing through informal money transfer system. You cannot tell how much comes through that source. You cannot tell how much goes out from that source because it is completely informal. Most of the information we have about the amount that flows through bureau de change is speculative. It's not the proper figures, and so it's difficult to obtain hard evidence to make an informal assessment of this market called bureau de change. Then data coming from government and journalists are usually also speculative. So sometimes even the government don't know the amount that is involved in the black markets generally. The best way to significantly reduce the volume of informal transaction is the orderly liberation of the economy. Hello, are you there?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay, yes. Okay, the best way to significantly reduce the volume of informal transaction is the orderly liberation of the economy. If the economy is not liberated, you cannot restrict these people from determining what the price of dollar will be. You can't stop them. So the more the government restricts imports and ration foreign exchange, the more important informal system becomes. The more these restrictions are there, the more the informal system of transferring money, of buying dollar or buying currencies will continue to grow. The more those restrictions. So the more effective strategy to diverse from this is to allow the economy naturally, like they say, demand and supply. Allow the economy naturally flow. Let it be determined by the much we can produce, the much we need, and the much that is made available, than for them to put restrictions or put bottlenecks here and there. I think that's my final submission.
Thank you so very much, sir, for that submission. So we go over very quickly to Abdul Razak.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Based on my own opinion, the situation we are seeing is seriously getting critical, because a lot of small businesses find it difficult to keep running their business the way it is. For example, people selling phones and people selling laptops have find it difficult to buy more goods because of this price hike. So actually, what I'm looking this in to my own opinion or my own understanding, I think the way forward for this, or the only solution for this, is we have two things. First of all, there is a permanent solution for it, and there is a temporary solution. The temporary solution, I call it temporary because it will not be permanent. There is no way when we Nigerians, we are always not producing there is no way Nigeria can go forward if our local industries are not working properly. If we are not exporting goods that can generate forex for our nation, the only way that a forex currency can go down is maybe in the process of improving our local industries, in a process whereby we can produce and take it abroad and generate a foreign exchange. And another thing is the immediate solution is for CBN to know the policies that they can make so that dollar can be available in the hand of individuals. They should try as much as they can to come up with policies and make sure that they punish each every person who maybe refuse to obey the laws regarding the foreign exchange matters. But the permanent solution is for our country to improve our local industry so that we can produce more. And also, we citizens of Nigeria, we should respect our local produced goods. We are in a society where a lot of people are looking local local produced good as something like imperial, something that's not classy. You understand? And we Nigerians, we have a lot of goods that are durable. We have a very nice goods, but a lot of people have the kind of mindset whereby if you didn't buy anything from abroad, it's like you are buying fake something. That idea is increasing the demand for forex. It's seriously increasing the demand for forex.
Thank you so much, sir, for that submission. Quickly over to you, Dr. Isemede.
Thank you very much. It is possible to solve our internal problem. This is just internal problem. First and foremost, let me thank our past leaders. From General Olusegun Obasanjo in 1976 to the present day. They came up with the Nigeria Export Promotion Council. The essence of that is that we should export and get forex. You don't buy other people's currency, or you don't hawk people's currency. It's a similar situation in Brazil, in Argentina, in the Far East. They look inward, they were able to solve their problems. I have worked and lived in so many countries. It is not possible for you to start hawking dollar or pound on the streets of New York, Johannesburg, Thailand, and all that. Why is ours different? That is why I am asking question. Where is the director of research of central bank? Where is the director of foreign exchange? Where is the director of public communication? They should come out and tell the private sector. Well, the problem of Nigeria is that the organized private sector today is now below the MDAs, which is not supposed to be the case. They are regulators. And we are the business people. We create jobs and we pay taxes. Look at, in 1973, dollar was brought to Ibadan to pay a research center at the rate of $2 to 1, at the rate of $2 to 1 naira, because the dollar was less than 50 kobo at that time. There was pandemonium. They want to shortchange us. Is that the situation today? That parents are paying school fees in dollars? You go to some apartment, they say you could pay in dollars? Who is managing Nigeria? Who is managing the system? Are there rules? I said the policies are not working. When CBN came up with the issue of ban or don't ban, we were using rice as an example. It is not the duty of CBN to be talking of tariff, whether to ban or not to ban. What is happening in Ministry of Finance? Because when you talk of balance of trade, balance of payment, you are talking of monetary policy, fiscal policy to run an economy. CBN or the finance and CBN supposed to go hand in hand. Is that what we have found ourselves? Another sad example. When you now say ban, we use rice as an example. We have the DG of the WTO. We have the DG of the African Development Bank. We have AfCFTA. How many countries of the world have such opportunity? I'm not talking of professors in Nigeria. We should stand up and hold this country. I am a member of a lot of international organizations. In meetings, they use Nigeria as bad examples. And some of us will be looking, what are you going to say? When you talk of rice, you are going to ban rice. You have not been able to ban yam that your MDAs have not been able to manage in this country. We have a lot of MDAs. An importer genuinely will pay from A, pay all the things required duty. It will be clear from the port. Some people will now come, go and destroy those goods, and the organized private sector will not compare them to compensate those importers who are their members. And the easiest way to achieve achievement, to say I have achieved my goals in the MDA is that I am destroying goods imported into Nigeria. What of exports? Export is very complex. We have signed all the agreements on earth, more than 600. How many markets have we developed? Look at the Chinatown concept. Look at the Indians here, using the Exim Bank of India. Look at the Chinese here. China never colonized 1 inch of Africa. What excuse do we have? That is it through seminar and workshop? If you now want to use quota, what I expected was that if the consumption of rice in Nigeria is 10 million metric tons and we are producing 5, we now say every year for the next 20 years, sorry, for the next 5 years, 5%, sorry, 20% reduction. You don't just close your doors. You will create a lot of tension. That is what is happening. We need to discuss with the central bank. We need to discuss with the MDA. The organized private sector, arise to your responsibility. Nigeria is our own, and we must salvage this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Isemede, for the contribution. Very quickly, Amara. Amara, please go ahead with your final submissions.
Okay, for one more thing, I'm still talking about transparency in governance. And so transparency in governance means that if you say for a quarter, I am entitled to 4,000, and that means at the presentation of genuine travel documents, then if we're going to be transparent enough, you should find out, or you should do something about your officials who have access to more than these, and they are not even traveling, they've not even traveled during that window. So until we are ready to, when I say we right now, the government is ready to be real, to tackle these issues, nothing happens. So we just sit down and we talk about it, but at the end of the day, it is the man on the street, the person who's from Q is sitting with the bank, the person whose suppliers who is accruing the mortgage at the port, the person who you have children in school and you still go. So these are the people who knows what is happening, but the people who make the laws, who make the rules and sit in some isolated city in Ethiopia, they will not understand. So until we are real to ourselves and begin to slam penalties, begin to throw out sanctions and implement them, nothing will happen. The man on the street will still face these issues because we can see the effects of all these, even the insecurity. Nobody, just so look at was it Dr. Fasho or somebody who was talking about turnover, or Abdulrazak, I don't know, somebody was talking about the margin. So even for the stock market that used to be a place to go, people are withdrawing their funds. If you choose to sell right now, you're selling at a loss for most of the stocks. So this is still the insecurity, the uncertainty, but it still sits in the hands of the government to say, oh, we're not paying lip service to these policies. We're not paying lip service to, if it's my own person, they get away with it. So you don't say, oh, we're not interested in naming and shaming and doing this person. And then somebody steals Maggie and you not only shame them and name them, but you throw them into the slammer. So that is what it is, corporate governance, transparency. Until we are ready to do that, seriously, nothing is happening.
Thank you very much, Amara. Thank you very much for that submission. And of course, the last but not the least panelist, Dr. Faswa.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll take a cue from what Amara said, and that's very, very cogent. Because, for example, if the central bank governor says, the only rate I know is the I&E window rate, okay? Are we sure that the people in the government circle, including those guys in Aso Villa, are getting whatever effects they require, and they require a lot? Are they getting it through the effect to the I&E window, or they still have their own private rates? There's so much impunity in this country, and that's why we cannot get a lot of things done. If leaders believe that they require some special thing, and which is being paid for by taxpayers, then everything collapses from there. Everybody is watching the leaders, and you know, in leadership, they will tell you, it doesn't matter what you say, your followers will do what you do. Okay, that's why leadership is a very delicate thing, you know, and I think a lot of things falls and rises on that hypocrisy that we see from among our leaders, and the fact that you know, the moment you do it as a president or as a minister or whatever, be sure that everybody down the rank and file has seen you, and they will also create their own products. When I was in the banking sector, we'll call it product development. Everybody is developing a product, trying to jib the system, trying to scam the system. So if you think that you are the only one, you're a big man, you're cocooned in all sorts of you know, privileges that is paid for by the people, you'll be shocked. And in time, I'm asking myself, I was asking them this morning, what will Buhari say is his legacy when it's done? You know, a collapsed economy, a collapsed currency, in spite of all of those times when he would swear that I would never devalue the currency. Okay, so you will never devalue the currency. See where we are today, from 177 or there, about 176 when Jonathan was going, and 220 on the streets. We're talking of almost 600, with pressure that it may get worse if we are not careful and if you don't do the right thing. Who's going to get the blowback when you leave? Well, you're going to be there forever. No, you can't. Okay, so, but however, I want to also say that Nigerians should see themselves in some of all of these things. It's easy to point a finger. In what way are we also contributing to this? I said in the beginning that what we seem to be going through is a perfect storm, whereby there's a kind of nexus of all of the things that we've been doing to ourselves as a people: the corruption, the mismanagement, the embezzlement, the rent seeking, and all of that coming together all of a sudden to say, are we ready to pay for those things in one fell swoop? I tell you what, we cannot. If the Naira goes to 1,000 or 2,000, or God forbid, it gets to what happened in the Wiener Germany, in the First Reich, when people needed a wheelbarrow of money to buy a packet of cigarettes, all right? I tell you what, if you have a small car, even Volkswagen Beetle or Toyota, whatever, you know, you will not be able to drive on the streets. That's why you will know that what we're toying with is something that you cannot even afford at all. I tell you, if you're talking about crime and all sorts of crazy things going on, that is the day you will see it. So let us understand that we are all in this together. We have all contributed. Nobody can actually extricate themselves from some of these things. However, the leaders have the bigger blame. But let us even lead ourselves. For many times, I try to take the leaders out of my equation when I'm looking at the borderlands. These guys are, you know, unfortunately, you know. So, and then lastly, that the opportunities are still here for Nigerians, and for young Nigerians especially. The opportunities are here for you to shine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this country. Absolutely nothing. Ship Nigerians out of here and bring in Germans or Chinese or Americans or Britons. In 5 years, this place will be paradise. We seem not to know what we have. Okay, so let's not toy with it. It's never going to be easy to build a nation, and in building a nation, you have to build a currency and what have you for your own identity as a people. It's never going to be easy. However, it's something that's worth the trouble. So I say that let nobody confuse us and make us run out of our country. Let nobody confuse us and make us become hopeless. In this country, the opportunities are replete in spite of the challenges we are going through. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ope Faswa. The opportunities are replete, endless in Nigeria. We still have the opportunity to shine. Thank you so much for your contributions this morning. Our very brilliant panelists. We appreciate you in no small way. But moving on, we must now call on Mr. Abiodun Hebuzo, the CEO of Investment Managers and Assets Consulting Limited, for the closing remark.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mrs. Ujinaka Mba, for a very wonderful moderation. This is actually a very tough one for me. I had assumed this section would have been so easy, but it's a tough one because the conversation had been like someone in the eye of the storm. But my duty is to send a thank you remark to all the participants, especially the panelists. And to do that, I would want to just make one or two remarks based on the reality that struck us today. First and foremost is the fact that our leaders are the ones who have dollarized our economy. Please feel free to tell me I'm wrong based on this conversation. Our leaders, the politicians, the public sector leaders, the private sector leaders, are the ones who have dollarized our economy. Therefore, if the Central Bank of Nigeria wants to hit the nail on the head, the Central Bank should address politicians and ask them the fundamental question: where do they get all the dollars they spend? I will be appreciating Tokwe Faswa on the theories of on the currency crisis theory. However, he opined with a strong revelation that there is a person who has over 350 BDC licenses. One person. How did that happen? That's another food for thought for the CBN. And I want to assume some of the staffers of CBN are here, and it calls for a strong investigation on how did that happen. And this Barrister Dominic spoke so much about the orderly liberation of the economy, whereas the BDC CEO, Abdulrazak, I'm sorry if I missed your name, talked about permanent solution is in the local production of exportable goods and services. However, at the same instance, somebody had also informed us that there are over 15 exchange rates. And I was intrigued by the classification of those, or the nomination of those exchange rates. The travelers rates, the borderland rates, the family rates, whereas the CBN governor had told us clearly there is just one rate, the I&E window. At the end of the day, we were also asked the fundamental question: is the governor of the central bank the only person in central bank that can provide us with accurate information? Where are the other directors, director of research, director of communication, these, that, what are they doing? Who is telling Nigerians what is? It's a tough conversation today, but the conduct of monetary policy everywhere in the world is seen as the competency of the central bank of that country. And this fora today did not deny that fact. However, the objective of the national monetary policy strategy needs to be made very, very clear to all Nigerians. And these deficiencies in system have prompted the crisis that Nigerians have seen today. Once again, dear participants, panelists, moderator, this is the first outing by the Nigerian National Forum on AfCFTA. You will agree with me that it's been in the eye of the storm. Thank you once again for being there. I have never considered myself to be challenged in terms of making a closing remark of this nature. But I am here today saying, everybody who came here today, who participated, you've done a good work. We expect that within the next 1 month, when we will move to the next phase of this conversation, you will all be there. Once again, on behalf of the convener, thank you for being here. And please, let's take this back to the Central Bank of Nigeria. I am very, very sure that the conveners of this event, or the convener of this event,
will do something extra through the Secretariat by making sure that all the ideas and solutions that have been shared here today are properly documented into a proposed policy action and sent to the appropriate institutions, and precisely the Central Bank of Nigeria, for further interaction. Thank you once again for taking your time, and thank you for being part of this epoch-making event. Thank you so much. I'm back to you, Dr. Mrs. Ojinika Mbakalo. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Much, Tabiode Ihebozo, for that wonderful closing remark. I appreciate you very sincerely. You have made my job at this point of closure very easy. Once again, I thank all the panelists. Mr. Dominic Adedeji, thank you very much. Abdul Razak Abdul Hamid, thank you very much. Amaran Naji, thank you very much. Dr. John Isemede, we thank you. Dr. Tokpe Faswa, thank you very much for finding time to be with us here this morning, and indeed our awesome participants who have adhered to all our rules in this webinar today. We appreciate you very much. We cannot but thank also the conveners, organizers of this first outing. And at this juncture, we may have, looking at all the indices and all our panelists who have spoken, want to say, like Joe Maynard Keynes, in the long run, we are all dead. No, there is some opportunity. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Thanking all our panelists for these wonderful submissions showing that there is still hope for Nigeria and Nigerians. And with that in mind today, I say good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name remains Ojinika Mbakalo. Goodbye for now.
Bye-bye. Let's take a group picture if it's possible. Can we turn our cameras on? Just a group picture. Can everyone turn their camera on? Can we turn our cameras on?
Oh, yes.
Excellent. A few more to go. Maybe if you can smile, maybe that will help. You know, bad like that, we'll go fix Nigeria. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. And bye-bye for now. See you next month. Have a pleasant weekend.
Thank you.
Yes.